Welcome back to our life groups. Week 4 is coming right up. We're so excited about the study that we have right in front of us this week. Before I get into that though, I just want to address maybe one thing that you can think about in terms of your life group in the upcoming weeks. Really want to think about who you might have within the group that might be stepping up as a possible future co-leader of the group. Maybe think about giving them the ability maybe to lead the group in prayer at the end, kind of set them up and build them up. One thing that we like to do in terms of our life groups is really to build up leaders within those groups that might be able to in the future lead their own groups. So if you can identify those possible leaders, maybe kind of hand off the prayer responsibilities one night, give them some sort of responsibility for that, see how they do, and down the line, hand off a night to them. I'd like to see in our groups that there would be at least one time within the group that you have somebody that has not led before to lead the group. Give them a chance, an opportunity. Maybe it's an easier study like Daniel in the lion's den, or Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace, something like that that's pretty familiar. But think about who you can be raising up in this season. Start to identify that person, and down the road, give them the chance to lead the group. Well, this study in front of us this week does have some complexity to it, but I think that you'll be able to break it down within your group. What I would ask them is, what sections of the study seem like a little bit more challenging? What were some things that maybe were a little bit harder to understand within the group? So think about that. Maybe just think about who might be challenged, or if there's an understanding that needs to be corrected, and be ready to go there and do that. Daniel's notes are excellent for this, and of course you have Pastor David's commentary to address some of these issues. That said, I think there are some really great practical applications. First of all, Pastor Daniel brought up the fact that Daniel had confidence in the Lord in order to go to the king in the first place and declare the dream to him and the interpretation. That's something that you could address. Where does the Lord need to give you more confidence in your walk with Christ this week? What's the co-worker that you need to be bold and come in and speak the word of God to? Where can God give you boldness in a certain area of life where maybe you felt weaker before? I think this is a great week to talk about that within your group. I also love the kind of history lesson that we have in front of us in terms of just the fulfilled prophecy of the 4 kingdoms, and then the 5th, the stone cut out of the mountain without hands, Jesus coming in and crushing all those kingdoms. So many great things to think about in terms of fulfilled prophecy right there. You could go in that in depth if that's the type of group that you have this week. Also, Pastor Daniel put in the questions that we have in our bulletin, and I integrated it actually right into the life group questions. Is Jesus described as a stone? All kinds of different places within the New Testament and the Old Testament as well to kind of look those scriptures up, kind of pass them off to different members of the group, have them read the scriptures and say, how does this reflect Jesus Christ being the rock, for example, that Christ, the confession of Christ that he would build his church on, for example, as he tells Peter. So a lot of great things to discuss right there. The final thing, application that I really like within the group is that God is completely sovereign. As we learned the week before with Pastor Nate, is that he raises up kings and he deposes kings. God is completely in charge. Even the present democratic system that we have will ultimately fall under the reign of Christ coming back and setting up his kingdom forever. So just a lot of great things to discuss. Have a great life group this week, and we'll see you again next week.